Let's see. We're back in this. We're back in this. Let me conduct a quick mic check for this. Make sure the colors and everything is on point. Yeah, we straight. Mic check 2 1 2. Mic check 2 1 2. All right, I think we're straight on the audio. I think we're straight on audio. Yep, so we got a very interesting topic for you guys today. Women crave emotional turmoil. We're gonna let some more people get in here inside the building. If you guys are watching on the replay, probably want to skip forward an extra 2 to 3 minutes because we're going to wait until some people get inside before we start the live stream. But I know you guys, you've been taught from a young age to think that women are angels. You know, they want love all the time and affection. And yes, they do want those things. They want it in doses, they want it in variation. So women have this weird need. And this just goes to show you just how different men and women truly are. Women need this chaotic and spontaneous kind of thrill. And as a rational, logical man, typically you're like, why would you want to do something spontaneous? You need to do something that's organized, that's planned, that goes according to plan. So you make sure that you avoid and all this overthinking. Women actually, they need that long term, but short term, this is what they deal with. Uh, the fun guy, they like the short term. This is what they're doing whenever they're younger. When they're younger, they don't value relationships or long term relationships like that. So they're valuing fun, and fun comes with chaos and spontaneity. So yeah, we're gonna go deep into this one today. Probably go about 30 to 40 minutes today. I have been exhausted this whole week. And plus, I got to recover my calves. My calves have been ailing me since I've been running excessively. And so, depending on how much crowd participation we get tonight, this could be rather short or rather long, depending on how the crowd participation is. So, why not just go ahead and get into this as people come in? If you're watching on the replay, just hit the like button, double tap the screen, comment your thoughts on the topic below. So, women and men, our natures are quite different. We're quite opposed diametrically. We're both emotional beings. We both desire emotional turmoil, but when it comes to women, women have a special need for emotional variation. It's quite interesting. Female nature and everything, it's like they require drama. It's like it engages them and keeps them engaged. It's quite crazy. When you look at women's fears, one of the top fears is, them getting R to the A to the P to the E, yet they will still go out, and I will see this firsthand. I will go out in the cold or go out outside, not in the cold, but I'll go outside running at night, and women will be out in groves. It's quite crazy. If you're worried about R to the A to the P to the E, but you're still out at odd hours of the night with an opportunity for that to happen, what does that really mean? So, this is why I say men and women are drastically different. As a man, you would not complain about getting deleted and then go hang out in the hood. That doesn't make any sense. This just goes to show you that women are irrational and illogical. This is nothing new. We've been known this, but a lot of guys are still in the dark when it comes to dealing with women. They have no idea the tactics that they're capable of using and utilizing on you. They have no they have no strategy or grasp or understanding on how diabolical women could actually get when you're interacting with them. You think that they're rational, they try to make sense, and that's not the goal of what women want. They want emotional uh, turmoil. They want an emotional roller coaster. Not all the time. You can definitely overdo this, but they need it, unfortunately. I was listening to a song as I was preparing to go on live today. If you go back and listen to Mr. Wrong by Mary J. Blige, or you listen to I Hate That I Love You by Rihanna, if you listen to, uh, what's the other song by Wale, Bad, these women, they're giving you cues that they like bad guys. And it's because of the fun, the spontaneity, the emotional roller coaster that these guys give these women. They will say in these songs that good men are no fun, meaning that you are quite predictable, you have a schedule, you're disciplined. Now, all those are great traits long term, which is why long term, when she gets into her early 30s and she's trying to settle down, that's the guy that she goes for. But when she's younger and she's trying to get all these different experiences and all this stuff dealing with the bad boys, this is what she values. She wants the fun, the emotional up and down. So you're trying to be a good guy. You think women only want attractive men, only want men with money, men with goals and ambition. And yes, that is true. They do want that. But oftentimes you have to sprinkle in some spontaneity. And if you look closer at women, um, their nature when it comes to this emotional irrationality, you will notice that in their day to day lives, they actually crave chaos. They actually need it. It's quite interesting to examine and look at. As a guy who is logical, you're like, what the hell, man? Why would anybody want to deal with that? Why would anybody want to do that? It doesn't make any sense. See, if you look at women in your life, the evidence is this: women, when they get around each other, what do? They gossip. They talk about each other, which is what? Basically drama, which is what? Them telling stories and telling on each other about their crazy, chaotic situations that they get themselves into. Women, it's really weird. If you talk to these women and you engage them, you're gonna find out that these women, she's 25 years old and she's already lived like three lives. Women, they crave this thrill so much that it gets them in trouble. It gets them into all these different situations in their younger years. They're dealing with the bad boy as far as the criminal. Then they're dealing with the guy that cheats on them and tells them all the sweet nothings that she wants to hear. Then, she's dealing with, an abusive guy. He's, ultra masculine. He checks not only other men, but he checks women as well. And so women, they find themselves in these situations going, and oftentimes, sometimes it gets them in trouble. Oftentimes it does. But women, they need this emotional spontaneity. And so they gossip with each other, which is just what? More drama, more chaos. Oftentimes amongst each other, oftentimes gathering information on each other, because women have a very catty nature. They really don't have any friends. We talk about this male epidemic on, men are, alone and lonely. Well, the reason why men are more lonely than women is because we have a less tolerant level for BS. If we find out that a guy is a liar, cheater, deceiver, he's not who he says he is, we're quick to discard him. Women, on the other hand, they will deal with a woman. They will, matter of fact, you'll be in relationships, and these women will admit to you behind closed doors that they don't like Jane. They don't like Keisha. They don't like, Ashley. And then you're sitting there thinking to yourself, you're like, okay, if you don't like this woman, why are you still around her? It doesn't make any sense. Why can't you just leave? It's because this is the goofy nature of women. They would rather have a fake friend than no friend at all. But this is what they do. This drama that they always engulf themselves in on a daily basis. So women like the gossip. That's more evidence that they like this emotional roller coaster, this emotional turmoil. Women watch all these different love stories, the Twilights, the, whatever, these romantic novels, these Beauty and the Beast. I mean, these Beauty and the Beast archetypes is basically what I'm talking about. The guy that is super masculine and tough in the Beast, and he's, super masculine and, really dominant to all the other men, but he's really uh, loving and affectionate to her. And so women, they've been raised on this, they've been sold on this narrative of needing this emotional variation as well as they live it because of their natural nature. So they're watching all these different dramas. They're watching all these different romantic or reading all these different romantic novels, always needing that emotional turmoil. They can't get away from it. They need it and crave it to a certain extent. And so I don't know if you guys have been watching my recent reaction videos, but women are really openly admitting that they're leaving good guys and they're saying, "Hey, he was a good guy. He did everything right. He's a provider, but." And typically that but is because he's not spontaneous. He's not spontaneous. He's not chaotic. He's not giving her that emotional support. She says she needs emotional support and affection, but really what she means is she needs an emotional roller coaster. She needs love, but sometimes she needs an argument as well. Yes, she likes to get made love with in the bed, but sometimes she wants to make love out on a hike somewhere in the middle of nature and in the car. So women need this They need this chaos. They need it. They crave it. They will leave you and chase it. And so, to a certain extent, when you're dealing with women, you have to somehow create this stuff. It's quite crazy. And when you ask them outright what they like, they're not going to admit the truth to you, but um, by their actions and what they've dealt with when in the past, when it comes to their past individual partners, they'll talk about, I've been cheated on. They talk about, this guy was abusive. He was verbally abusive and all this stuff. And it's because they crave that emotional turmoil. She craves it. And they're all dealing with the same men that can reenact this fantasy that she likes on a consistent basis. And so you're a good guy. You're trying to do the right thing. You're thinking she wants a good guy who's predictable, who does what he's supposed to do on a consistent basis. And oftentimes, she doesn't. She needs to know from time to time that you're unpredictable, that you have other options, that you're not her only focus. And that's where simps get it wrong, and that's why they get disrespected, is because they put the woman up on a pedestal, and the bad boy doesn't. He talks mess to her. And it's really quite interesting to me, all these game guys on the internet, these PUAs and all this stuff, they talk about, game and, talking to women, but none of them seem to pick up on the aspect and seem to, hone down this concept of this kind of roasting of women, where like you have to talk mess to them and they actually like it to a certain extent. The majority of them, you asking them the regular questions and, how are you doing and all that stuff. That's not what they want. They want you to be like, hey, you're distracting me. Hey, they want this kind of flirting, romantic slash roasting interaction with you. And so these PUAs, when they're talking about women, they forget that women like when guys talk mess to women in a flirtatious way. But the bad boy does that, which is why he engages them on a consistent basis. He gets them thinking and locked in emotionally. And women it's quite crazy. Women will say no, but that doesn't mean that they mean no. But yeah, you're a literal man. When a woman says no, you're thinking that she actually means it. When in reality, she just means that she wants you to go and press further. But see, if you haven't dealt with women enough and you don't know this kind of art when it comes to women, uh, and that they're, what they say is not really what they mean all the time, you're going to be confused. And so the turmoil, the reason why women, one of the biggest reasons why women crave this chaotic, spontaneous, emotional roller coaster is because in relationships is because it engages them. When you're constantly putting a woman on the pedestal, saying that she always looks good and all this stuff, it kind of disinterests her because sometimes deep down a woman knows that she isn't shit. Let's just be real. She knows she ain't shit. So whenever you guys tell her that she's perfect and that she always looks pretty, that's a lie. And she thinks it's a lie and she knows it's a lie. And so she wants you to roast her, or she needs a typical roast session every once in a while. And so that's another point why good guys get left in the dirt, because they don't understand that when you're constantly giving women validation and compliments, she thinks you're full of it and she's not going to take you seriously. And you kind of overdoing the validation, and that devalue, and ultimately it ends in it being devalued in the end. But however, women are engaged when you stimulate their emotions. It's quite interesting. Women don't really like you. They don't love you as a man. This is a sad reality that I'm about to give you guys. Stay tuned for this. Women don't really love you for you. They don't really see what women really want and what they really like from a guy that they're talking to or in a relationship with is they really like the way that the guy that they're talking to or dating makes them feel. That's really at the crux of it. They like the way that guy makes them feel. Not, it is conditional love because if you didn't provide and protect, she wouldn't be there. But you can have those things, but if you make her feel bad or if you make her feel a certain way, women will still leave the relationship because this is why people say that women are more loyal to their emotions than they are to the realities, because women need that emotional validation. They need that emotional turmoil, chaos. They need it. It stimulates them. It keeps them engaged. So again, and it seems like once women they go through these, women snap out of this kind of trauma, this kind of emotion. They only snap out of this emotional need for roller coaster and chaos whenever they've dealt with too many bad situations. They know what happens with these guys that have these certain personalities. Um, and so typically, after they've been used up, typically, that's when they um, want the good guy that's stable but boring. But oftentimes, it's you can set your clock to it. She's going to at some point she's going to want a guy, or she's going to want that emotional variation again, which results in her leaving a good man. And so women, it's quite, they create these cycle for themselves. They think that they can deal with bad boys for the first 5 to 10 years of their life, and then they can maintain a good relationship with a good guy that's boring and does the same thing over time on a consistent basis for the next 30 to 40 years. There's no way. That's not realistic. That's not real life. You have a certain person that you like and you deal with, and you typically, what you're attracted to is what you're attracted to. You can't really change that. You have a high attraction to what you have a high attraction to. So women are addicted to these fun guys that give them these positive emotions. And it results in you being the good guy, you being cheated on, abused, being left. And you're wondering why, it doesn't make any sense. I did what she wants. I provide, I pay the bills, I do what I'm supposed to do. Well, you forgot to factor in that she's an emotional being and that she likes emotional turmoil. And you're not that kind of guy that brings that out of her. And you're not the guy that she was dealing with in her early 20s whenever she was having fun. Sad reality. And this is what gets a lot of guys their heart broken because they don't understand this fact about women that they need and crave this emotional chaos. And so women, in a weird way, they always need something to chase. They need something to focus on, and typically it's a man. It's unfortunate, but the guy that cheats on them keeps them engaged. They're always worried about what he's doing, why he isn't responding back. The good guy messes up because he's always responding back, giving her certainty. Sometimes a woman needs uncertainty to stay engaged. She wants to wander and have all these different thoughts running through her head. She says she can't stand it, but she really likes it. It stimulates her. It keeps her engaged. So the reason why they deal with the bad guys, and we always keep saying these things in these spaces, but the toxic guys or the guys that cheat on them or whatever, it's because he checks all the boxes when it comes to her emotional need for turmoil and chaos. He's spontaneous. I listen to some of these criminal stories, and their lives are really interesting, I must admit. One day they'll be out just smoking and chilling with the homies, and then they'll be out somewhere, and then they'll see the ops, and then they'll immediately hop on them. That's very spontaneous. They'll just go out and say, hey, we should go out to this place, and just go out to that place, and then have fun, and then pull the car over and start smashing their girlfriend. That's spontaneous. Also, what is that? He's unpredictable because he's not always responding back to her in a rapid time, which also keeps her engaged. She's always wondering what he's doing, what he's up to, which keeps her interested in him and the relationship. So that's another box that the toxic guy, checks off in relationships. Then he checks her, he puts her in her place, while also the next day or that same night, he'll caress her and tell her he loves her, saying he hates her one minute and loves her the next minute. All of this stuff keeps a woman engaged. And so the reason why that they deal with these bad boys or these toxic guys or these criminals and biker gang people is because they check off the boxes of what they need when it comes to their emotional need for chaos and emotional turmoil. They get the excitement, they get the hate, the sadness, the love, the pleasure, the excitement. All of that, he provides that. And most women, unfortunately, for you good guys out there, they will deal with this guy at least once or twice in their life. And you better believe, whenever she's 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, talking about she's dating with intentions, you better believe when she was younger that she was dealing with these guys. All these women have these stories about, they were dating this or talking to this dealer, or they were uh, talking to this bartender, or they were talking to this football player, and all this stuff. Unpredictable personalities that you would think, and you're thinking this woman is an innocent woman. You think this woman would never do any of the stuff that she's been involved in, but she has. And so don't ever be deluded by thinking that a woman is a good woman, and because since she's a good woman, that she will not need this chaos and spontaneity. They absolutely need it. And sometimes you have to create it out of thin air whenever it's not there. I know some of you guys might not want to believe this or might not want to uh, think this is the truth, but it is the truth. I've seen this happen way too much. I remember telling my buddy in college, I was like, he was dating this chick and she was, being disrespectful and all this stuff. And he was like, I'm gonna go out. I told her I went out tonight, and she's been texting me and all this stuff, and blowing up my phone and all that. And I was like, bro, you got her. I was like, stop responding to her texts, and when she calls, don't pick up the call. And lo and behold, that woman was superiorly, she was not superior, that's the most terrible word for that. She was really engaged with that, blowing up his phone, calling him endlessly because she was focused and engaged and trying to figure out what he was doing and if he was doing something wrong or doing something bad. Women need this, guys. You might not want to believe it. You might not want to accept it. You might not want to enact it. But I have seen this stuff with my own eyes, and this stuff works. And I'm not saying you should run a game, but I am saying you should take a couple of things from the toxic playbook that are productive and enacted in your relationship. I promise you, the likelihood of you getting left will decrease. It's not guaranteeing you that you won't get left, but it will decrease. That percentage will go down. So hopefully you guys learned something new from this live stream. Hopefully I brought some value to you from this live stream. I see we're not getting too much engagement, so I'm going to cut the live stream a little bit short, 30 minutes shorter than I normally do. But I appreciate you guys. If you're watching the replay, hit that like button, double tap the screen. Comment below if you guys really enjoyed this live stream, watching on the replay. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you guys like my content. If you want to share the video, you're more than welcome to. And, excuse me, I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.